Plot, plan, strategize, organize, mobilize. I'm going to get that shirt.
What's up, peoples? It's your bartenders, Mr. Z.
And your boy Omega.
Come sit and think as we open up about spirituality and our light understanding of the universe, as well as dive into the movie Judas and the Black Messiah. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it and plan to, pause the episode right here and go watch. Well, wait. Glad to have you back. As every episode, we want to thank all of you for listening. We truly appreciate you listening to our hearts and minds on varied and difficult topics.
Special thank you goes out to our Patreon subscribers for their support of the show. Every little bit helps us reach our goals to invite more high-profile guests and create bonus content.
And if you want to join in our conversation outside of this cast, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at HaveADrinkCast, and make sure to use that hashtag HADcast.
Remember, this is always a conversation. If you don't agree, you want to voice your opinions, or even suggest a topic for an episode, feel free to join our Discord as well. The link will be in the description.
And please, if you like what we're doing here, share us with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Hey, talk about our show on your first date. It's a great litmus test for telling if they're enlightened or not. Your referrals mean a lot to us, as that's how we gain more listeners. So,
Thank you again.
and get prepared to sit
Think.
and have a drink.
Welcome to Have a Drink podcast. Enjoy the episode.
We said peace. What's up, peoples, and welcome back to another episode of the Have a Drink podcast, where we invite you to sit, think, and have a drink. We're your bartenders, Mr. Z.
And I'm your boy Omega.
Hey.
What a do.
So today we were just chatting beforehand, and we figure, it flows perfectly into what we were originally going to talk about today, but we're going to get into a little bit of talking a bit more into spirituality and as well as the movie that just recently was released, Judas and the Black Messiah. Yeah.
Man, oh man. That movie was a clear-cut masterpiece. If that movie does not win any awards, the whole film industry is racist. That's all I gotta say. And the FBI is still after them. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, no, I really, honestly, like, just watching that movie and breaking it down as I was watching, I was like, wow, I'm accurate. I feel like, I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, this makes 100% sense, because my mom um was a Black Panther, actually.
Dope.
Yeah,
Dope.
yeah,
Yeah. My I can't say the same because my mother wasn't, but a lot of my family members that lived in Oakland, they benefited, grew up around, and were a part of the breakfast programs and a lot of the Oakland initiatives that were going on.
yep.
Like my uncle, who I work with, train with, and I'm very close with, he's well, technically he's my cousin, but anyways, he told me all about it. He's like, yeah, when I was growing up, that's what we did. We said our daily affirmations, we had our breakfast, we did everything. I was like, yo,
Yeah, man, I was kind of saying before we started, like, yeah, I mean, apart from that movie, like, just the journey I've been on lately has been so much of a lot of things that I say in my life, of like, words are magic, like understanding, what that means in combination with like how we tune into the frequency of the universe, like of like really combining all the spiritual practices of being mindful, of focusing, of feeling love and releasing it into the universe, of speaking into existence what you want to happen. All of these things are not necessarily separate, but they're all one experience that kind of goes on in order to create, manifest, explore what we will. Like I was saying, you know I was speaking affirmations into the water that I was drinking, just because, like, speaking that into existence while feeling love, tuning into that frequency, the energy that is can't be explained through science,
Hmm.
you the feeling that people get, that it's hard to explain, of why it gets they explain it as, oxytocin being released into the body. Well, what about much more than that, of people feeling that mutually for each other, or feeling each other across long stretches of plains, or what have you.
Hmm.
And of thinking along those lines of, what if love is actually a frequency? What if that's the frequency of the universe? What if that is where you need to be tuned into in order to use your gifts,
Mm.
using your speaking those things into existence? So that's why I said, like, I sat there and I was speaking affirmations into my water while being tuned into the frequency of the universe, as to focus that energy into this water, so that when I consume it, it attunes my body as well, you know, constantly feeling this flow of energy that's in and out and around, and in and out and around the space of, in the center of that being, essentially infinity. A lot of the journey that I've been on, man, has just been about reattuning myself with with the universe, and it feels so, I guess, as other people say, woo woo. It feels so woo woo, but like, it's hard to deny what it's hard to deny what I'm feeling inside.
I can definitely see that,
But yeah.
and I respect it.
And for anybody else that's actually listening to us, like, if you're interested in taking this challenge as well, if you would like to search it on your own, it's called Spirit Science. You could look on YouTube. There's look up the playlist Spirit Science Complete Series, and it'll take you through all the videos that they've made surrounding that. But yeah, like, it's interesting, because you were saying it goes right into what Fred Hampton was really going towards, like, tapping into where that space is, of like understanding that tapping into that frequency, understanding that frequency is what's going to be necessary to kind of heal the world. The even the title alone, Judas and the Black Messiah, like, he said, Herbert Hoover, was the director of the FBI at that time. So he was the one leading this charge of trying to, uh, keep the rise, halt the rise of a black messiah, that would come and essentially strip power away from the government, and
Hmm.
bring it into the hands of the people. And it's interesting, because if you look at throughout our history, we've had these individuals who rise up to take over the mantle, so to speak, as the Messiah, not with hopes of being that, but of with just hopes of just changing things for the better, and actually shifting
Correct.
people to where they should be,
Correct.
versus where their focus has been. I mean, to say to say the least, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting, like, to see all those that came up, and to watch how ready the world was, how ready the people in power were. I mean, the people in power are never going to be ready to relinquish that power, but like, how unprepared and unready that time period was for the people spewing those thoughts, spewing that level of, like, consciousness within the community,
Right.
you know of understanding it's not just me, it's we.
Yes.
Yes, it starts with me taking care of myself, but it's so that I can be strong enough to also help us take care of we, and help take care of
Right.
we, and seeing, that power for unification, come up again, with
Right.
him, come up again for us now in the present day, this, like, desire to change
Hmm.
for the better,
Right.
and the pushback from it, though.
Yeah. And it's crazy is because they were so strong. They were so They were so organized.
Mhm.
They had so many great qualities. I'm speaking of the Black Panthers. I'm speaking about these organizations, about about becoming revolutionaries and having that change. They were so organized, but the Black Panthers specifically were so good. The only way that the government could take them down or get to them was to put in a Judas, to put in an infiltrator, to get in there and to do that. They needed somebody to do this, right? And for those of you that have not seen this movie, I'm just telling you right now, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you have not seen this movie yet, spoiler alert. Shut this off now, watch the movie, and then turn it back on. Spoiler alert. Now, if you ignored my spoiler alerts, that's your fault. But anyways, is to take these people down, they needed to put in somebody that looked like them, that could talk like them, that can move like them, just so they could understand them. Because in like I don't know if you remember, like when they showed the scene of the FBI agents and they were talking about dig in, dig in. He's like, I'm pretty sure they don't say dig in. He said, Nah, I know they say, you know, do you understand what I'm saying? Dig in, you sissies. And it's like we never speak like that. But then that moment when the leader of the Crowns was reading the letter. Did you catch that part? And when the
Yep.
at first I was like, why would he say all this stuff but want to meet with them? And it didn't dawn on me until he said, dig in. And I was like, that was the letter. That was a note that was written by the FBI. And I was like, wow, they would go to great lengths to cause dissension amongst the people. And it really makes you wonder, or not wonder, but think about it. It's like, well, that was how social media is today.
Yeah.
They pick and choose and they create dissension. They choose what to promote or what to videotape or what to put out to create that dissension. And it's like we are at each other's throats so much today. It's almost like the civil rights of the 60s is still happening in the 2020s. And that's ridiculous. But people don't
100%.
get it. I mean, man, like the great lengths that they went through to have
Yeah.
this happen was ridiculous, and it was baffling.
I mean, you even see it when politicians today are getting caught having multiple Twitter accounts where they are pretending to be someone else of another color, race, etc., of another race, and they're speaking as if it's their real experience to kind of point to and say, see, these people are they agree with what we're saying, so that must mean we're right if they're agreeing with it and you guys are just turning away from it you
I had
know
no idea.
yeah, I was on Twitter and I saw this politician who it was in the midst of a bunch of shit happening during the Black Lives Matter protests during 2020 summer. um but the there was a politician, I can't remember the name of. If you guys want, go do your own individual research at home to find out who. But there was a politician who was on Twitter and they were trending for a couple of days that had posted something that was meant for their burner account, the account that they were using to pretend to be a black person, because the way they had posted the post was he was speaking from his personal experience, and the way he covered it up was he deleted that tweet and then posted it from the other account and then said on his original account that that was him quoting a message he received from another one of his followers.
That's funny.
Yeah. That was, I was like, "Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense." Like, I mean, people do it all the time. I see a lot of people do it. I mean, I've had an account about me. I found one on Twitter. Yeah, I had to delete it and not think about it, like, or block it and not think about it. But they used my face as their profile picture. They didn't claim they were me. but and they have a few posts of mine on there, saying something like about me being an antichrist, and they have me in, yeah, one of their lists for like degenerates or whatever. So it's basically a troll or whatever that's just picking people who are promoting positivity or just being themselves. I
Man, you're that famous? What? I had no idea.
I got one troll, bro, on there, and then I got one on Facebook that posted a picture of me when we were posting those during that same time. When we were posting the "I am a black man" posts on
Hmm.
Facebook, and we were tagging each other and whatnot on somebody else's page that I had tagged. They on the comments, somebody had posted a picture of one of those racist clowns that they used to like depict as black people, where clowns originally came from, with the big
Okay.
red lips,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
crazy
The
hair,
Black
dark
Sambos.
skin. Yeah,
Yeah.
had white around the mouth a little bit, but still like black skin. Yeah, all that. Um,
Oh, the. I don't know
uh,
why I'm blanking out on this. It's not the Sambo because that was a cartoon.
yeah,
Uh, the minstrel shows.
yes.
Okay.
And so like all, and their comment was, "You're nothing but a black clown," and I admit it hurt for like a second, and then I realized, I was like, I mean, why? Like, it only hurt because like I allowed them into my energy space, you know. That doesn't take away from the disgusting nature of it. That doesn't take away from the, the it doesn't excuse it. Fuck no. Like, but at the same time, like, why?
Don't give it that same energy. Don't give
Yeah.
it no energy.
No,
Yeah,
don't
yeah, I
give it
feel
no
it.
energy. Like, I mean, I just bring it up just because like those things still happen today. Like, I mean, it's not something that people don't experience.
Hmm. Now you make me want to see if I have one or somebody's using my likeness or image.
And so,
Degenerates.
yeah, that just meant I was on the list for that troll who wanted to just troll me. So whatever I posted, he saw, and then he spends his whole life putting energy towards me. So I was
Ooh.
like, well, I mean, if there's a way for me to convert that energy, sure, but the way I'm converted is by not letting the negative in, and just figure out how to use my energy field to convert it so that I can just, as it's hitting the outside, it just gives me more good energy.
Going back to the movie, um, what stood out to me the most was how do I want to put this? How captivating of a speaker he was at such a young age, and the conviction that he and confidence that he had when he spoke. It made so much sense as to why people listened to him and follow him, and why, if you look and paid attention, everybody that was with him was young. Like, and that was something that kind of stood out to me. I was like, how come I don't see any older people? But no, everybody was young. And when I realized how young he was, I'm like, these people are teenagers. They're early 20s.
Yep.
They're very young. I was like, man, this Black Panther Party was a group of young-minded individuals. I mean, young individuals with like minds that were sick of being taken advantage of, beaten, brutalized, and they wanted to see change in their community, and we don't have that. We're always looking for the older leaders. We're always looking for older people, not realizing that they were still young then.
Yes.
Like, even it still trips me out that Dr. King was in his 30s. Malcolm X was also in his 30s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you think about that. It's like they were my age.
Malcolm X was 39 and 39 as well.
39. Okay, see, yeah, mind you, I'll be 36 in 2 months. Like, and I'm thinking about that. I'm like, yo, like I am very young, and these people were socially conscious and socially aware, and they were so on it. I'm like, we shouldn't be looking for the older generation to give us direction and leadership. It's our younger generation that's really it. It's us. It's us right now. Okay, the biggest thing that really got me was when Chairman Fred took his comrades to the Young Patriots.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and how Comrade Palmer got really upset and defensive when he saw the flag, the Confederate flag behind him. He's like, all I see is my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my black people hanging from the trees around them. And he was already attacking those people. He didn't know those people whatsoever. And they stood up and they said the same thing that we hear today still. I didn't own slaves. That wasn't me. Don't
My
put that
family
on
didn't
me.
do that. We
My
were
family
we
didn't
were
do that.
sharecroppers.
Exactly. We were sharecroppers. We had no money. So why are you saying that about me? I'm I'm living below the poverty line now. And Fred looked at him and was like, "Yo, you're out of place."
Because you don't understand their experience. It's like they probably live the same exact life I do. Get the same education I do. But the thing is they were saying, yeah, they don't understand that, what the slave owners were doing to the sharecroppers was, you know, as soon they were trying to keep the slaves and the sharecroppers from rising up together and killing off the masters because they were the ones that were owning everyone else. So it was all about money. It was all about the rich in that.
Yes. And to see how he brought the Black Panthers, the YPO, the Young Patriots organization, and the Lords, who were the Puerto Rican group,
Hmm.
how he brought them together. Because, mind you, before that happened, before the Rainbow Coalition, he tried to reach out to the Crowns because they were 5,000 strong, but they couldn't get past what they read in the paper, what they read in that note that came from that they didn't realize came from the FBI. They couldn't get past that. He's looking at them like that wasn't us. We wouldn't write that, or else why would I be here with no weapons?
Right. He's
He's
like,
like,
why
come
would
on,
we
brother.
show up here? If I'm gonna do that, why would I show up with no weapons? It's like I expect to get killed then? Like,
Like that doesn't make sense. And I'm glad that that brother thought about it and was like, well, you're gonna need this. Boom. But we ain't doing no business. And to see the growth and progression from that moment to where he's like, well, I went to my own didn't want to, so I'm gonna reach out to this other. And when I saw the young patriots, when I saw the young patriots, it made me go, who are we dealing with today? Everybody's all of a sudden talking about they are patriotic.
Proud Boys.
The Proud Boys. I mean, not just the Proud Boys, but they're just the Patriots now. The Republican
Hmm.
Party is considered the Patriot Party. Okay, you're a patriot. So you're talking about you're talking about protecting your Second Amendment right. Well, so were the Black Panthers. You were talking about you want the police to mind their business and to the government and the cops to police fairly across the board or stay out of our community and let us do it. So are you. They're saying the same thing, right? But they're toting the thin blue line, which is fine. But that's because your community isn't being attacked. But talk to those same people that were from the Young Patriots Party, the Young Patriots organization, and remember how they were going through their issues and how they were not being policed fairly or they weren't being taken care of fairly and how they were also disenfranchised. I'm sure they would be in the same, they were the same alignment as the Black Panther Party. So why wouldn't you guys think about that from their point of view too? They're saying the same thing. It's like we're all going through this together, but the patriots of today or the Republicans of today think that they've got it all figured out and that
Well,
they're so separate from us.
those that don't want to relinquish power do the same thing. It's how they generate. It's why you hear certain political parties take slogans or what have you. You have the BLM, the same Black Lives Matter, and then All Lives Matter was only in existence to be in opposition of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
The way we're being divided now is so easy. I get why people. I don't like cancel culture, but like I get why people are so frustrated by cancel culture because it begets the ability to control people through fear. because you have this fear of being canceled or whatever. But like, and like they even make it a division when people start, pointing to cancel culture, what
Right.
they're trying to do. Like it's slowly figuring out ways to discredit things. Basically everything I'm saying is the people in power, the people who don't wish to relinquish it, they find ways to discredit those that would be able to accumulate power by understanding that we're stronger together than when we are separate. um
Exactly.
and and
Exactly.
and that's exactly what Chairman Fred was saying. That's what he was saying to every single group he went and talked to. He's like, we're stronger together. Like like you heard him when he walked into the was it the crowns.
He
Yeah,
met the crowns at the funeral.
at the funeral. So the Lord, no, I thought the Lords were at the funeral.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. The meeting was with the crowns. Yes.
So yeah, so he walked into the crowns, and like they started spewing, all the things that he was doing, and all the things he's like, we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. And he's like, fantastic, yes, hold on to that. Can you do it better, like, and more, like
They
that's
weren't ready
what
for
that.
that.
And and he was just like, you see him shook for a moment of like I
I mean, this isn't
mean,
a who's better than each other. This is you.
this
You're giving us
exactly.
props.
Yeah, it's not like I'm looking to take over anybody. Is I'm just we're looking to unite and expand and utilize each other's resources and become better and bigger and help our communities easier. Like, and yeah, having that being such a radical idea, because like you mentioned, you could see it. You could see that clear like disconnection, because he's already programmed into thinking and being prepared for an altercation,
Hmm.
not unification.
There you go. I was thinking the exact same words. And to even piggyback off of what you just said is it's crazy to me because you also see he was listening to respond, not to understand.
100%.
That's what it was. He was like, yo, okay, so I'm gonna let these cats come up in here, but this is what I'm gonna say. This is how I'm gonna stand, you know. But the other thing too I do want to talk about is, did you notice the organizational skills that they had when that brother got out of line and was because he recognized old boy for stealing his car. He's like, yo, this is that dude. And he socked him in the face. I was like, yo, he socked him in the mouth. He said, you don't speak out of turn. And I was like, that's organization. I mean, I'm not saying it's okay to be socking people in the
Well,
face.
that's the militant training that and militant, basically taking it from the military, that
Hmm.
the rigid rules. Like, it's we'll dive more in a minute, but go ahead, continue.
No, no, I'm just saying, like, they don't show us being organized so we can mobilize, like uh, like how Killer Mike talks about.
Right.
You know, we need to organize so we can mobilize. We don't do that as much anymore. We do it in smaller pockets, right? But if we were able to do that, like how he said, how the Crowns had 5,000. Now imagine if we had 5,000 people to organize like that, so we can make a statement again. Eventually, we'll be able to mobilize and get more. I didn't realize the Black Panther Party had so many chapters nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
I only, and this is due to my ignorance, and I need to do more research, but I was only very familiar. Whenever I hear Black Panthers, I only think of where?
Oakland.
That's it. Not
Well,
realizing they had Oakland, they had Chicago, they probably had New York, they had
they
all
had San
over.
Francisco. Like they like it wasn't even just in Oakland too, in California. Like it was all
Yes,
over in these different areas across the US. I mean,
I agree.
just takes a little bit of that perseverance, a little bit of that calm mind, clear action,
Hmm.
execution,
That's
and
it.
and with some creativity in the mix.
There you go. Like, and we don't have to be super militant.
Right.
either.
And that's what I was getting at, is like that's why I said throwing some creativity into the mix, because like everything is kind of in this interesting balance. The way we look at masculine and feminine energy, when we talk about masculinity and femininity, we talk about it in just gender forms of male and female. But masculinity and femininity, that sort of energy exists within all of us. So I was saying earlier that, like, how you were kind of mentioning the structure and the rigidity of the militant style of the Black Panthers, or even the Crowns. Sorry, the Crowns, more or less, but the organizational skills alongside with the Black Panthers, um of that would be considered masculine energy. The idea is very focused, no nonsense, gonna get it done. Whereas femininity is feminine energy is more of creativity, where you see art, where you see expression, where you see that spark, where that join where people joined together, and they thought of unity over over uh over separate division. They chose unity over division. So adding that balance of masculinity and femininity, or feminine energy, um you can create, like, there's this harmony within it that creates that sort of success, that sort of outward spread of love, happiness, success for all. The kind of um mentality that today is deemed as a socialist mentality, where people would have free healthcare, free housing, free food, whatever, like, be able to live by their means. um and I say better best way to express the two sides of masculine and feminine energy, is, if you take two movies, for example. I'm pulling this straight from a video that I watched recently. So if you see it, where they described Inception. Inception is a more masculine movie about these individuals doing their no nonsense. These guys doing their no nonsense work, where they get in, get out, and their mission is, they have to figure out how to handle these obstacles and then complete their mission. Whereas, and those are deemed, what they assume, like, what are kind of labeled as masterpieces. And then you have a movie like Sucker Punch, which is you know more creative and more feminine energy, and that has all this web of information that lays over each other when looked at on a micro scale. Like, it looks so, like, it looks so random, it looks so out of place. But if you take a step back and look at it from the macro scale, then you can see the interconnectedness of the story, of the things that are happening that appear random or don't make sense, because we're so used to this rigid box way of thinking. And that's why people say think outside the box, because they're like, don't just think just in right angles. There's
Yeah,
also curves that exist. It's kind of the philosophy, the ancient Chinese philosophy of circling the square or squaring the circle. I mean,
interesting.
that's a whole episode in and of itself, and I don't even
I don't
think
know.
we'll talk about it on this show.
So there's two things I want to mention to that. I'm gonna circle back to I want to circle back to the masculine
Huh?
energy, right? um, Interesting enough, the Black Panther Party consisted of 60% women. So it was well over half of the Black Panther Party was women. And
Right.
they showed a lot of strong women who took charge in a lot of different ways. I
Right.
mean, remember the shootout scene. That woman was the first one with her gun ready outside, and she let it be known, I'm holding this place down. I'm making sure that chairman's woman is taken care of, that she's safe, that she's out to take care of that baby, even though she didn't want nobody else to know. I know, but she's like, you need to get out to safety. We got business to handle here. She made a point to be out there. Notice how it took this woman to change the chairman's mind and his approach to how to speak to people. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, you're right. He had the masculine rigidity. See how I use your word again, rigidity, and was really straightforward about the way he brought it. But she gave him a way of how to finesse people with his words in another way, and let him know there is a poetry to your speech. Just the way you were able to recite Che Guevara, you are able to recite the same things, and how she was able to be there for him word for word, bar for bar, when he was reciting Malcolm X's Black Revolutionary speech.
Yes.
So I had to make sure. I kept wanting to say Black Resurgence, but that's a dance group. But Black the Black Revolutionary speech. So I completely see where you're coming from with that. The men are here, whereas the women bring that balance, bring that.
Well,
But they
that's the other
also
thing.
showed.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
No, no,
sorry.
go ahead.
But they also showed that they were able to have that same militant attitude with their own flair. Because remember how she brought out that gun and was like, "Yo, who were you? Like, what were they? Like, what are they talking about? Like, whose
Exactly.
car did you steal?" It's like she had more tact in the way that she was able to get that or try to get that information out of her.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I'm gonna connect these dots in a moment, is because I want you to see who was one of the producers of this movie.
Was it Spike Lee?
No, sir, Ryan
No.
Coogler.
Okay.
Why is that important?
I don't know.
Black Panther and the Domelage from that movie. The strength,
Mm.
the militate, the way that those women were able to be so strong, and how they were the backbone,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
how that was being shown in this movie about a Black Panther leader, brought that also to this movie. Now, granted, he wasn't a writer, but I'm still gonna connect those dots because this is still about the same. It's still in the same universe, right? So that was just a really beautiful thing to realize that. And even though every time we talk about the Black Panthers, they only talk about the male leaders, they don't talk
Mm-hmm.
about the feminine aspect of it, and
Right.
how strong those women were, how they were learning martial arts, how they were the ones that were out there making sure that those babies were fed and ate, and how we have Angela Davis, who was out there just as much in the forefront as Huey P. Newton and Chairman Fred. She
Mm-hmm.
was out there too, and they don't really highlight that as much. But in this movie, they brought that feminine energy to be right at par with them in
Mm-hmm.
that same respect. You know, and uh, there was another point that you made that I wanted to go towards. You were talking about Inception and how that was very straightforward. We got to get the we're on the mission, we're in and out, and we move on, right? And there's kind of the same thing with Tenet. And Tenet lost me, by the way.
Oh, I
I was
didn't see
super
Tenant. I
excited.
kind of want to watch it.
I
Like,
was super excited, and it lost me. I had to watch it too many times to try to figure it out, and it still didn't make. It made sense, but it just. But anyways, Tenet's the same way. But the when you brought up Sucker Punch, I remember that movie. I watched it 3 times, and I haven't referred back to it. But you made a lot of sense. Like that movie was great in its respect. But I'm also going to throw in another one. You ready?
mm-hmm.
Doctor Strange.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Because
100%.
who was the leader?
Exactly.
She was the leader, and she brought that balance. She changed things.
Right.
She brought a sense of calmness. She brought a sense of understanding and looking outside of the box, even though everything was very strict and rigid.
Right.
You had the men who were all about the order, who were all about the laws, who were all about just this way, where she was more, well, what about if we take it from here? Look at this guy. Even though I'm going to play like I don't want him, I already know that we're going to need him and that we're going to use him,
Right.
but you guys can't see what I see.
Well, so basically, so I would take that a little bit further. Then, if we're looking at Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange technically then would become the story of that masculine energy adapting to the feminine energy that would exists. And I pull that to my point that I was going to mention um, before I so rudely cut you off and then gave you back the mic. Uh, uh, was that it the other thing like that exists there is, as I was alluding to earlier, I was mentioning, like masculine and feminine energy and as it exists outside of the male and female physical form,
Mhm.
because each of us have the capacity for both of those energies to exist within us at the same time. And that's something that is such a hard concept to grasp for some people, just because we're so, I mean, especially when we're talking about males, so rigid in how they perceive, masculinity before we really started going on this expedition of growth in how and what masculinity is, what it could be, what it could envelop, and how we can understand it and utilize it, not in a toxic way, but like also understanding then like now taking that and like, and female understanding of femininity has already existed, but you could see that concept of it existing in both still is there, whereas you were pointing out within the Black Panthers alone there was 70% women, as you mentioned, it like it
60%.
sorry, pardon me, 60% women, as you mentioned, and like and they brought that feminine energy, and how his wife was able to impart that energy into him because he was willing to receive it. He was willing to receive it and blend it and adapt it into the masculine energy that he already had and that he was already utilizing to organize. You know, it's trying to find ways of taking out the concept of where masculine and feminine, like the root of it just being about gender and sex, like it being a bit more about energy. Let Even better example, again, I'm taking and paraphrasing from a video I've watched recently, but like the sun and the earth. The sun is the greatest representation of masculine energy. Even it's not for the concept of its size, but for the concept of the energy it creates and what its purpose is.
Hmm.
Whereas then you look at the earth as having more feminine energy. Now, if you take that masculine and feminine energy and blend them together, what do you get? Life. And what did that create? Life. How we refer to Earth as Mother Earth. you know you back in Egypt, we referred to the sun as Ra. We in the Mayans, it was the sun god. Like all these, like and I said god, not goddess, so it was the sun god. And so they attributed this masculinity to that entity, to that existence. Whereas, also on the other side, the nurturing feminine energy being Mother Earth, and together being able to create life.
No, that was beautiful and perfect and absolutely spot on. Uh, I 100% agree. 100% agree. And I'll even just to try to add on to that is we talk so much about the masculine side of things, we forget about the female contribution.
Well, isn't that just a male dominated environment?
I mean, and I say that because Chairman Fred Hampton did everything, was everything. But do you know, but the way they started that movie, she talked about him being a poet and she offered to be his writer. And then when he walks into the office, who is running on the administrative side? Who's running that office? All of the women. All of the women. So if you look at that, it's like without these women behind the scenes doing the things that need to get done to make sure things can get done. It's like the grunts can only do so much, but they need other leadership. Those women in the office might not be the head, but they are definitely a part. They are side of the brain with inside of the head. Yep, they come together.
The web, you
The web,
know.
exactly, and it's beautiful. This movie, Judas and the Black Messiah. Let's sum this movie up in one word. I will go first. Masterpiece. I honestly, wholeheartedly believe this movie is a masterpiece. This depicts this young man, this general, this chairman, this titan of a being who came, he saw, he conquered, he changed, and he inspired many generations to come in the city of Chicago. Like, remember that he was in Chicago. Everybody talks about the negative side of Chicago. You forgetting there are black people in Chicago that did a lot of good that the government had to take out because they seen them as a threat. You only hear about the negative side because they're afraid of what will come about again. They're afraid of another chairman, Fred Hampton, coming about in the city of Chicago. They only talk about one good person, great person. I feel I'm sure there's a whole plenty more, but who's the one main great person that they speak of that came out of the city of Chicago? Take a moment and think about it. Gave you enough time. President Barack Obama. I'm not talking about Michael Jordan because of his athleticism and what he did for the game of basketball. I don't care about that. I'm talking about real community change for the people of Chicago, for the community of the great state of Illinois, for the people in the black community. Who was it? It was Chairman Fred Hampton. This young 21-year-old man came and changed the game. And he was such a threat, they had to eliminate him. They had to neutralize him, in their words. And and I mean, they talk about the people are they're uneducated. No, 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 no. When you listen to him, you hear the education. Who else was highly educated? Huey P. Newton. If I remember correctly, he had his doctorate. Angela Davis, another doctor. They had so many people. Seals. I'm not sure if he had his doctorate, but I know he was. I'm sure he had his. He was very educated as well. So I'm telling you right now, they are threatened by educated, strong, organized, and mobilized black people.
One word, huh? Um, it's two words. It's the answer. What is the answer? Cohesion. So I guess my one word would be cohesion. It it perfectly depicts the point of the movie. There it's funny because the reason why, in my personal biased opinion, why I feel like, movies of this caliber or movies like this made, through the lens of the black people or even just the lower community individuals who have gone through a struggle, we see it through that lens. And why they're not, they don't make best picture, they don't do all that stuff, is because they're telling the truth. Not just I don't even think it's just the truth about what happened, but I mean the truth about where we were trying to go, what we were trying to do, you know um
And where we're
and
still trying to go and what we're still trying to do.
exactly where we're still trying to go, where we're still trying what we're still trying to do, like cohesion is the message within it all. Like if we can learn, like, yeah, we have this is what I find so interesting about how the way our world works is like, earlier mentioning, Twitter and whatnot, about like how they'll try and influence the way you speak, the way you'll interact, being able to take and politicize something. makes it so that it'll polarize something, and it'll end up making it so it divides individuals, so that you don't see that there isn't just two dimensions to this. There are so many more, you know. They'll start, one side will take in, when I say politicize it, they'll take that message, they'll take that thing that is truth, and only accept it and use it when it looks good for them, when it fits their needs and wants, not what fits the needs of everyone. And in turn, they take that, and like I said, they polarize it, they create that division, they use that to separate people so that they can't organize and mobilize, so that they don't understand that when organize, like get together, come together. What were the hippies talking about? What are all the flower children talking about? What are all these people? What were all the churches preaching about? Like we could do so much more with cohesion, and I think that's, yeah, that's my one word to sum up the movie:
Cohesion,
cohesion.
beautiful. And I want to credit brother Killer Mike yet again, and I want to say the full one: plot, plan, strategize, organize, mobilize.
Ooh,
I want to say that one more time for the great brother Killer Mike: plot, plan, strategize, organize, mobilize. I'm gonna get that shirt. I should probably get a couple because I might wear it out. I probably need to write that down and have that put up. Plot, plan, strategize, organize, mobilize. That is important. So,
I couldn't agree with you more. um
right.
do we want to leave our Discord off with a question?
First of all, Discord. Join the Discord. And if you are part of the Discord, turn on your Discord so we can continue our conversations. Um, what is, if you've seen the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, what were your thoughts, feelings, and opinion about the movie? Have, just so you know, you could have watched it on HBO Max, or if you have a Fire Stick, you can find it on there. Um, Please promote and support this movie. In its opening weekend, it only made $2.5 million, and I say only because that's how the box office is. And if you already have HBO, then you're not paying for it necessarily. But please get the views up, watch it. I'm probably gonna watch it a few more times this week. And yeah, again, tell us about your thoughts and your feelings about watching this movie. And it doesn't matter what race you are or who you are. This movie's got something for just about everybody. And Killer Mike hit it on the head, and I really feel this movie is all about it. Plot, plan, strategize, organize, mobilize, which was being done by the chairman, Fred Hampton.
And if you want to continue more in this conversation outside of here, please feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at Have a Drink Cast, and make sure to use the hashtag Hadcast. And like, you know, show us what you've been plotting. Show us what you've been planning. Show us how you are working cohesion into your life. Show us how, you know, you're show us how you resonate with this masterpiece.
Yes, please do. I loved every minute of it, and I'm going to watch this again. And shouts out to our Patreon, to all of those that have been so loyal and helpful and supportive. And by the way, just so you guys know, when you guys do have your Patreon subscriptions up at least, I believe, $35 or more, you are able to get this fresh fly sweater right here. Yeah, you see me, you see it, you see it, you see it. Hey, hey, hey. Get your fresh fly, have a drink podcast merchandise, support, show your love. And if you guys do get it, make sure you guys do put out your pictures, put out your posts, and let us know you got it. Matter of fact, today, before I leave, after I film this episode with Mr. Z, I'm going to take a couple of pictures in my new fresh sweater and I'm going to put it up there and let it be known what I'm rocking. You don't need to know what I'm drinking because I already finished it. But yeah, so holla at your boy.
Hey, beautiful. All right, brother. It's about that time.
All right.
All right, kings, queens, and brothers in between. I want to thank y'all for another successful episode of the Have a Drink podcast. And we invite y'all back to sit, think, and have a drink. That's been us. Peace.
Peace.